Iolanthe beckoned unto Anterius, to whom she explained what information the friends had gathered regarding the case of the thief on board. Anterius insisted that it would be wrong to convict the thief without evidence, and set Iolanthe on her way to locate the stolen goods and connect them to the accused. Iolanthe knew that the jerky that she found on the key and strongbox was hidden beneath a mattress in the crew quarters, and a thorough search found that the same mattress contained a metallic sounding substance within. Could this be the very evidence that closes the case? Will Iolanthe be able to tie this evidence to the accused? Welcome back to New Dalancia, our Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaign. I'm your most gracious DM, VGpunx, and with me as always are our players, minus a few, but for the most part we're here. Hope everybody's having a good day, because I'm having a great day. Yep. I know, I need a new keyboard. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and got a new backtrack for us today, and here it is. Hopefully that's not too loud. Probably is. Let me just drop the volume there.
Not to me, but I don't know. I don't know about anyone else.
This is called The Sea of Moving Ice by Tabletop Music. So, thought it was pretty fitting considering where we currently are in the world, dodging these icebergs and trying to kind of get around up here in the Great North. So when we left off, Iolanthe, you had just come into the upstairs galley and tried to fill Anterius in on everything that you have just found inside the crew quarters. But it seems that Anterius can no longer understand you, and so you are left to your own devices.
What is he doing right now? He's still cooking?
He's just finished cooking. He's kind of cleaning everything up, and actually, at this point, Holli stands up and looks around, clears her plate, hands it to Anterius, and starts to walk out of the room back toward the crew quarters area.
Iolanthe sees this and she paws at Anterius' leg and starts kind of whining a bit.
Anterius kind of steps over. What is it? If you're wanting me to... Well, let's just say I'm not able to do that again today.
Iolanthe
Kind of
barks and then starts making towards the door of the kitchen and like beckons for him to try and follow.
Holli exits the kitchen, and you start to hear these footsteps kind of grow louder and louder, as if she's kind of running a bit.
Speed walking.
I cannot move my token, but I'm gonna be standing by the door looking out to see where she's going and barking over at Anterius.
Welcome back. So, Iolanthe, you just heard Holli take off and start kind of marching down the hallway. Tess, you mentioned you were sleeping. Go ahead and roll a perception check, please. With disadvantage. Okay, still over a 10, so actually look at that real quick. Okay. So you know what? You probably awaken to the noise of very loud footsteps, kind of tromping down the hallway.
Tess is going to awaken, startled, sit up in bed, and then she's gonna groan. Mm. But Tess is very sleepy, and she's gonna grab her pillow and wrap it around her horns and her ears, and then flop back down into the bed to try and sleep again.
The footsteps grow quieter and continue moving what seems to be straight down the hallway. Iolanthe, you're up.
Has Anterius made a move to follow Iolanthe at all?
No, not at all.
Uh, she kind of rolls her eyes and starts taking off down the hallway.
Ian Fear, any actions here?
I mean, obviously this dog's gonna look agitated, or at least, um, uh, something of like, and Inferior will kind of turn to Val and say, or Anterius and say, I think your dog's in a hurry for something.
Hmm. So it would seem. Probably just. Maybe I should go check it out. He starts to kind of walk casually in that direction. Iolanthe, you're up next.
All right, Yolanthe's just kind of coming down the hallway, following after Sally. What's her name?
Holli.
Oh, Holli.
Holli actually has stopped at the end of the doorway and is kind of looking into the room and seeing the mattress laid out on the floor with holes in it, and realizing, what's kind of going on in here. She's sort of stopped at the door.
Yolanthe also stops. She kind of stops right here in the middle of the hallway and just kind of stands there watching.
She continues into the room and disappears around the corner.
Yolanthe comes up to the door and then she just walks right in and kind of stands in the doorway, and she's looking over where she thinks Holli is.
You catch Holli kind of investigating the mattress as it was kind of laid out on the floor, and turns to find you standing there and approaches you.
Does she say anything or try to move past?
These are bite marks, aren't they? Did you do this? Her eyes narrow.
Yolanthe just kind of stares her down.
Casually, she sort of slips in between you and the door and closes it shut. She starts to reach behind her.
Like she's reaching for a weapon, or?
Why don't you go ahead and roll a insight?
Oof. More jerky?
And we'll go ahead and follow that with an init.
Okay.
All right, let me go ahead and get some.
Damn, Foundry. Be better to me, baby.
Oh no, your dice are betraying you today.
Your dice are actually betraying you.
Let out a heck and a woo.
16, and there is a surprise round as Holly draws out a. What do we have? She draws out what looks to be a hammer from somewhere within her clothing. Her robes, perhaps? As she draws back the hammer, staring you dead in the eyes, she says, "Oh, we can't have anyone exposing my little secret, can we? And, of course, you're just a dog."
Iolanthe starts growling and her hackles are up.
So this is a surprise round, so we have an attack roll of 16.
Yeah, that will definitely hit.
All right, damage.
Oh, wait. Yeah, no, it will. Never mind.
So we got 7 damage on that one.
All right.
Like I said, this was a surprise round. She's actually going to produce a hook with her other, her offhand. And I'm not sure if this is actually going to work the way that I'm planning it to, but I'm going to make the modifications to this roll as needed. Holy crap. Never mind that hit. And we have a damage roll of 6.
All right, well, that takes me right out of dog form with 2 damage to my...
As you transform out of dog form, she keeps her weapons out, and she's sort of panting at this point and says, "Who the hell are you?"
Iolanthe's eyes just lock on Holly's, and she smiles a big toothy smile, and she's like, "I'm the one who knows."
Okay, your action.
I'm going to use something that I've been just dying to use the entire time. It's a cantrip called Primal Savagery.
Okay.
Having just come out of the wolf, or rather dog form, and standing there kind of like crouched down on with her hands still on the floor, her teeth suddenly become very like fangy, and her fingernails become really like gnarled looking claws, and she makes a lunge to attack Holly.
All right, go ahead and roll the attack.
Fuck you, dice.
If you'd like to take inspiration, I'll let you do that.
I don't think I have it.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, then I'll do that. And that's right.
22. That is a hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
Oh, I forgot my damage dice were different.
All right, so she is about wounded at this point, which means she's around 50% of her health. Go ahead and what happens? What goes down?
Does she, like, what do you mean by, like, she's just kind of there, or
She's wounded.
wounded?
In this game, I use a scale in combat to describe how the enemies are, or how your how any character really, how their health is faring. So this represents the physical wounds that you're able to see. So it's on a scale of roughed up, wounded, seriously wounded, and at death's door. So wounded is around the wounded is around the I don't want to say 3/4 range, but it's about the 1/2 to 3/4 ish range,
Gotcha.
like the middle area of the hit points.
Okay. I'm going to use the spell Hold Person.
So you've already used an action. Is this like a bonus?
Oh,
action
okay. I
you're
thought we were
taking?
starting a new round, but
No, you got surprise attacked because she was pulling something
that's
from her
right.
back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then my turn, I guess, is over after my attack.
Okay. So she's going to take another swing with her offhand with the hook.
Oof. Yeah.
Rolls
That.
a 21. She kind of swings around with this hook and it hooks it into your side and then immediately pulls it out. So you take about 6 damage from that.
Would we hear any sort of like commotion?
I
or
was about to
scuffling?
say I need to step away for just a second. If you want to cut to Anterius and Ian Fear real quick.
Yeah, I was
In
gonna say,
fear.
would we hear any sort of commotion or scuffling? Because like, kind of moving around in a pretty confined space.
Moving around in a pretty confined space, but the door is actually shut, so that a lot of that sound dies out pretty close by. But with that in mind, there are a few people who are close by, so let me look into them real quick. See what their passive perception looks like. Okay, taking that into consideration. Any actions here, Tess? After having heard the bit of commotion outside.
Okay, so I guess she had tried to get to sleep, but everybody is being so loud, so kind of grumpily, she's gonna
I'm back.
sigh. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Kind of grumpily because she's really been missing out on a lot of sleep lately. Tess is gonna roll out of bed and then swing open her door, step outside, kind of rubbing her eyes and say, "What is all the commotion about?"
Anterius looks over at you a bit surprised to see you, but says, "The ship's dog." He pauses and kind of never breaking eye contact with you, and then his eyes shift over to the toward the forward bow of the ship and says, "Seems to have made their way out of the galley in a hurry. I'm just going to check up."
Wait. Ship's dog?
That's right. And he locks eyes with you again. And then he looks over at the other people who are close by and are within earshot.
So these two right here are Santigas and Drea, is that correct?
That's right.
Tess is going to full speed run and try to push through the two of them and say, excuse me.
Seeing you coming, Andrea steps out of your way, takes a 5-foot step just next to Santigas. And as she does, they both look at one another with cocked eyebrows, and Anterius takes off after you.
And
You can still move about 30 feet.
I'm sprinting, so about 20 feet right here. Tess is not sure if this is even the right door, but she's gonna fucking swing that shit open. Like, almost kicking the door in.
As you close in, you probably hear the scuffle behind the door. It's not like a stealthy fight or anything of that sort. But you do swing open the door. Iolanthe, I'd like you to go ahead and roll a dexterity check. The door opens inward, and
I'm
it
sorry,
almost slams
Tess.
into you.
Tess opened it very forcibly. Not that she's very strong to begin with, but yeah, she definitely
Is this
showed that shit
a
open.
is this a check or a saving throw?
This will be a saving throw. 13, you're fine. So you notice that you hear something beyond the door, and you catching the sound of the door handle being turned. You kind of jump just a little bit to the side to dodge the door opening. Holly, um, being caught off guard by this, kind of stows her weapons. What is Ian up to?
Well, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, seeing Tess, like just book it, and especially with Anterius falling right behind, Ian is gonna start making his way in a hurry. That's why I kind of moved it that far. Once they did,
Okay. You I think can still move. Let me see. So you're at a
I
5.
moved like 20 feet, I think.
So far you've moved 25 feet.
Yeah.
So you still have another 35 feet you can move if you want.
Yeah. Ian Fear's gonna seeing them running. He's definitely gonna take off after Anterius and Tess. 35 should put him right next to or right around Anterius.
Santiga, seeing everybody take off down the hall, actually starts off on his own. Drea uses the rest of her movement to catch up, and all of them appear behind you guys. Seeing the door swing open and Tess just beyond, Holly backs up into the corner and stows her weapons.
Iolanthe definitely does not. She's standing there in like fight pose with her teeth fucking like bared.
Snarling.
Did
Yeah, like
did
little foam bits dripping on her fangs.
after like basically almost kicking the door in, does Tess see Holly tucking something behind her back?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, she wasn't terribly careful about it, and you caught her off guard. So you see her do this entire thing. You recognize Iolanthe, so you're
Yeah.
you don't spend too much time on that. But seeing Holly in there, that's kind of a surprise.
Um so after kicking the door open and noticing that Holly noticed and tried to hide it, Tess is going to kind of furrow her eyebrows in a disapproving way. But then she's going to is Iolanthe like on the floor or still standing?
She's standing, but she's like kind of like hunched forward with her arms like out, like if she's ready to attack. When she notices Tess opening the door, she kind of turns towards Tess, and she has like the wildest eyes ever.
You see that Iolanthe has a scratch on her face and sort of what looks like a deeper wound that is on her side.
Okay, so Tessa's first concern is going to be with Iolanthe. So she's gonna try to step forward and like kind of wrap her arm around Iolanthe to help support her. And she's going to reach forward and the you said that the wound is on her side. Let
Yeah,
me
wounds on her right side, or on her yeah, it's on her right side.
okay. Um I'm just gonna roll for a cure wounds on that. Just kind of reaching forward and trying to touch Yolanthe's side to heal her because she's more concerned about the wounds in this case than catching what's her name? Holly off guard.
Go ahead and heal for 17. That should bring you back up to full health.
Maximum power.
But Tess is going to try to move into the room, so kind of off to the side to leave room for if Anterius wants to come in or anyone else
Kerfuffles.
wants to peek in.
And
Tess
that
isn't blocking the way.
That he absolutely does. So he, uh, in fear, you see him enter the room, um, his hand sort of resting on the hilt of his weapon. He kind of glances over at Iolanthe and kind of looks you up and down real quick. Well, looks like you had some success.
Iolanthe, still with like her eyes all like crazy looking and her claws and teeth, she just points a really kind of shaky claw over at the mattress without saying anything.
Yeah, Ian Fair coming up will kind of look and be like, huh, I've seen you before.
Yeah, you're rather shocked to find not a dog, but Iolanthe standing here in the room, and looking none the worse for wear. Rather agitated, but
Bit scruffy, but that's pretty normal.
To be completely transparent and honest with you, Ian Fear, Iolanthe would rather keep this a secret if possible, and Tess also kind of looks toward Anterius.
I think maybe we're a little bit beyond that, unfortunately for Iolanthe.
Anterius looks over at.
There are other people on the ship, so you could still keep the secret. Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Actually, no sooner do you say that than Bagram walks up as well, as does Val'faelen.
Motherfucker. Well, Tess definitely giveth her all.
Bagram in that sort of raspy, brittle voice that he has mumbles, "The hell is going on here?"
Perhaps Holli could try to explain.
He kind of pushes his way into the room, brushing right past you, Ian Fear, and also you, Iolanthe, and sits on the edge of his bed, placing his hand on his chin. He says, "Who the hell are you?"
Iolanthe kind of swirls around and just like bites at the air right in front of his face.
Val'faelen also enters the room, stands on the other side of Anterius, and Iolanthe, I didn't know you were on board.
Iolanthe hears Val'faelen's voice, and somehow that kind of calms her down a little bit, and her teeth and claws slowly began to kind of, I don't know what the word for this would be, but shrink, I guess, back to normal teeths. And she kind of stands a little more upright, a little bit more calm, but she's got her hand on her staff now, just kind of staring at Holli. And she says, "I never left." She kind of glances over at Val and smirks a little bit, and she's like, "You probably knew me a little bit better as, well, various critters."
I see. He looks over at Anterius, who still has his hand perched, ready, on the hilt of his weapon. Anterius takes a sidestep and moves between you and Holli. Val'faelen, seeing the stance from Anterius, also follows suit and corners Holli. "My captain." "Holli," says Anterius, "do you care to explain what we've just walked in on?" Holli sort of has this wild look in her eyes for just a few moments before she sort of relaxes her grip on her weapon in its sheath now on her back, and realizing that she's defeated, takes a more relaxed stance, droops her head, and goes to sit back onto the edge of this bed frame, the mattress torn asunder and left on the floor. She starts to try to form a sentence, but nothing seems to come out. Just incoherent. Followed by a long sigh. Well, Iolanthe, do you care to explain?
Iolanthe again points over at the mattress and says, "This is where she's been hiding the evidence."
His attention immediately turns to the mattress.
And then she glares up at Holli and she puts one hand on her hip and she's like, "I brought you soup."
Iolanthe continues staring into the floor as Anterius gestures to Val'faelen implicitly, and Val'faelen steps over and with a single right hand still on his blade, in his left hand he picks up the mattress just like it's nothing, like it weighs nothing, and out of the side of the mattress he starts to shake and a pile of jewelry falls out. Tess, you recognize this jewelry as being the self-same jewelry
That
that was locked
Drea,
into the strong box, yes.
that Drea was missing, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So,
That's-
Tess,
sorry.
after seeing all this jewelry come pouring out, Tess is going to kind of like motion toward Drea to come into the room, and she's going to say, Drea, please, if you would come to Tess.
Drea, seeing the pile fall out, steps into the, like, she kind of steps back in shock for a moment, and then slowly steps into the room and walks directly up to Holli. Tears just start kind of pouring down her face as she says, "Why?"
Tess is going to take this moment to put her hand on Drea's shoulder. Is this the jewelry that you reported missing from your own lockbox a couple days ago?
She turns to you and just kind of still mulling over everything. Her eyes shift around the room, almost in sort of a very frantic way. She takes a breath, but nothing comes out. She just nods her head.
So, kind of in front of everybody in the room, Tess is going to say, well, Tess is confident that we have found our ship thief. The only question from here is, how do we handle these kinds of things? Tess has never been on a ship before. Tess doesn't know.
Drea, I'm gonna go ahead and roll this publicly because I don't feel like I need to keep this one a secret. Really? That's what it says? Okay, either way. For lack of better judgment, Drea walks up, grabs Holli by the by her shirt,
Tess,
and says,
Tess still,
"Why?"
Tess still has her hand on her shoulder, though. Can she try to pull her back?
Sure.
What do I roll for that?
A strength check against her opposing strength check.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, what the fuck?
She is able to grip her shirt, but Tess, you pull her back with such force that as the word "why" comes across her lips, she tumbles to the floor and lands flat on her butt and wipes the tears from her cheeks and looks up at you.
Tess understands this is a very emotional time for you, and actually for everyone here in this room. But we will handle this without violence. Do you understand, Tess?
Iolanthe kind of looks awkwardly up at the ceiling.
Val'faelen looks down at the collapsed form of Drea and says, Tess is right. Now is not the time to allow our emotions to take control of us.
We have several months in which we all have to get together on this ship, and Tess will not see somebody locked up in a brig or treated like a common thief when there are obviously other issues we need to address here. Isn't that correct, Holli?
Anterius looks back at you. Tess, we don't have a brig. I got rid of it. Figured we wouldn't need it.
That is a whole other reason why Tess respects you. But we are
However,
not going to make a big deal about this and cause fights and violence against each other, when maybe somebody here on the ship, and she looks at Holli in particular, may need a little bit more help than others, and that's okay.
Holli, why? Why did you do it? Holli, looking up from her gaze at the floor, tears running down of her face, knowing that she is defeated. And quite a big wound on her arm. Just looks up at Santigus. She shakes her head and leans into Anterius, cupping her hand over her mouth, and whispers something in Anterius's ear. He looks over at Santigus, cocks an eyebrow, and then looks back at her. He loosens the grip on his sword. You're confined to quarters while I figure out what we're going to do with you. Everyone else, he gestures and walks from the room. Santigus looks at Holli, and he just kind of shakes his head and leaves. Drea, still sitting on her butt, just stares at Holli. Bogren kind of snorts.
Tess will offer a hand to Drea and apologize profusely to her. Tess is very sorry. Tess does not know her own strength sometimes. Things got really heated, and Tess gets nervous during these things.
Anterius turns around to the other sailors that are lined up again, kind of lined up in their bunks, and a few of them peeking out from their hammocks. You, guard the door, please. Make sure she doesn't come out. Oop. Two of them post up on either side of the door, either side of you, in fear. Yes, sir. Anterius, everyone, if I could please have you in the map room.
I think Ianfear is going to go inside and say to Tess, help me with Drea so we can leave Holli be alone.
Oh yes, if you could please. And she's gonna kind of try to motion Drea to leave because Tess wants to have a private word with Holli for a moment.
Drea stands up, taking your hand, and leaves the room. And starts to make her way north into the map room, where it seems that Val'faelen and Anterius have convened. She takes a seat in one of the chairs at the back of the room. Tess?
Approaching Holly, Tess is gonna kind of nervously, like, hold on to her own arm, or she's kind of like half hugging herself, and she's going to say, Tess suspects that this recent behavior was brought on by some very strong emotions. Tess does not view you as a criminal for what it's worth. If you ever need to talk, Tess is here. Just remember that, okay?
She looks up at you and quietly says, "Won't matter much when they throw me overboard."
Tess is gonna reach out and try to put a hand on her shoulder. Like, sympathetically, and say, Tess will make sure that nobody throws you overboard. Anterius is better than that. Val is better than that. This whole crew is a team. We all work together. Sometimes mistakes happen, and you make the wrong decisions. And that's okay. What matters is that you've learned. Be a better you. That's all Tess is asking.
I don't think you quite understand the gravity of the situation.
Probably
But
not. But Tess knows that you, Holly, you're better than this.
I do appreciate the sentiment, for whatever good it does.
Get some sleep.
Sure. Kind of slowly stands up, and as you close the door, she's pacing toward the back of the room, still sort of clutching a wound on her arm. Looks like a bite mark.
Oh, yeah. Oops.
Hold up. That happened. Okay. She lays down in the bed as you close the door.
Tess looks to one of either guards on the side of the door and says, we may want to get a ship's doctor, if you have one, to go check out her wounds before they get infected.
He looks over at the other guard. You know first aid. Not me.
Is it not against regulations on the sea to actually have a first aid kit or a doctor on board?
I thought that was you. Frankly, I see what you did with other wounds on the ship.
Oh, for Kellenvor's sake. And she's gonna open up the door and then walk back into the room. Holly, just one more thing.
Yeah?
Cure wounds.
18.
She's gonna reach forward and just put a hand on Holly and say, Tess hopes you feel better.
The wound immediately completely seals, and she kind of rubs it for a moment. Thanks. I
You
don't think there's any amount of healing in the world that can help me now.
and Tess is gonna reach forward and boop Holly on the nose and say, are most welcome. You deserve it.
She kind of stutters a bit and then lays back down in her bed, followed by a long sigh.
Is there a blanket on the bed?
Yeah, she's kind of wrapped in it.
Tess is gonna tuck her in before she leaves.
You tuck her in. She just kind of like lays there the entire time, like looking around, like what is going on?
Tess tucks her in like the most comfortable burrito she could ever be in, and she'll probably ask herself why she's never burritoed like this before, and the answer is Tess. So hopefully we have gained a point or two in friendship. And after tucking her in a burrito, Tess is gonna lean forward and kiss the top of her head. Before turning to, is there a candle that's lit right now here in the room?
Yes, there is a candle that's lit.
She's gonna extinguish the candle and then say, "Sweet dreams," before she
Roll for
opens the
intimidation.
door and then leaves. Roll for intimidation. This demon child tucks you into bed. How do you react?
No need to roll. No need to roll. Just Holly sort of like pulls the cover off, and stares at the ceiling with wide eyes.
And after leaving the room, Tess is going to approach Iolanthe and say, "And how are you faring, my friend?"
Iolanthe rubs the spot where her injury was on her side, and she says, "I'm fine." And then she looks past Tess at the door and points towards it, and she's like, "Do you need me to eat her?"
Oh, no. Nothing like that. Tess
Yep.
thinks that there may just be some really, really strong emotions that are not being addressed in a healthy way. So she made some bad decisions. The main point, in Tess's opinion, is to make her feel welcome on the crew again.
Iolanthe nods slowly without really understanding, but she's just kind of like shrugging, like, Tess thinks that's what's good, so I guess that's what's good.
But Tess just woke up, and after all of that action, Tess is very hungry. Tess is going to go grab a roll before meeting Anterius in the map room as he requested. And she's gonna stroll off.
Iolanthe, what are you doing?
When Anterius wanted people in the map room, did he want Iolanthe there as well?
Seems that way.
Okay, Yolanthe's about to turn towards the map room to go join them when she sees Bagram, and she makes eye contact with him and kind of does that thing where you point two fingers at your eyes and then point one at them, like, "I'm watching you."
He seems to be locked into a conversation with Santigus. He's leaned up against the side of the little wall edge there that is that the hammock's attached to, and he's saying, "She's crazy, man. That's all there is to it." Santigus, that ain't right. You can't just take one look at a person because one action they made and judge their entire character based on it. People are more complex than that. He says, maybe humans, elves, tiefling, halflings, but orcs, you always know what's on an orc's mind.
Yolanthe kind of rolls her eyes and heads towards the map room.
As you approach the map room, Anterius is sort of leaned over this this map table, and Val'faelen's
Oh
standing.
no, another rat.
Yeah, there seems to be a corpse of a rat in this room. Just kind of left there. Wait, no, I think you had actually picked that up. Yeah, you know what? Nope, I was wrong about that. You would pick that up. That should be gone.
Oh, okay, that's the same rat. I thought
Yeah, I just did not move it with
I thought
you because I was
Anterius
like,
had just chucked it on the floor, like, yeah, bring
chucked
it on.
it. So yeah, sorry about that. My bad. That's my bad. And then I totally forgot all about it. As you walk into the room, Anterius is leaned, sort of with his hands on the map table, which sits about waist high to him, and he's sort of leaning into it. Val'faelen is standing next to him, rather prominently, and Anterius is staring down into the map.
Iolanthe kind of strolls in and looks around at everybody and then kind of walks over to the corner and just kind of leans there and starts packing her pipe.
There's
Just
sort of
kind
a
of
somber atmosphere in this room as Anterius sort of we haven't even gotten away from Godbury. We haven't even gotten out of Godbury waters, and already this. We don't have a brig. What are we supposed to do? We can't just have a thief on board.
out of character, but how do you just get rid of a brig?
Well, I mean, how do you just bring on an entire bar on the downstairs, like, cargo bay?
Well, I mean, like, did he turn it into something else?
Yeah, that would usually be where the cargo bay is currently at.
Ah, okay.
In fact, he kind of says, right as you are sitting here, or as you sit down, he says, I did away with the brig on this ship because I didn't think that we would need to devote that much space to that, to a prison. I guess no captain ever wants to reprimand one of his crew to that point. I shouldn't have been so thoughtless. I suppose we could clear one of the cargo rooms?
I will say, don't we have like? I thought I saw a couple of rooms in the back that were sort of private rooms.
As you walk up, Tess, with your roll,
She's like double fisting. She's got two rolls, like one in each hand. And she's eaten both of them, like one hand after another. She's gonna kind of walk into the doorway.
Anterius, as you walk up, is leaned over the table staring into the map. A little marker that depicts where the ship currently is on you guys' route. He's kind of staring directly at that. It's a pin that's stuck in the board such that the map can't move with it stuck there.
Walking up to the map and also with a mouthful of bread roll, Tess is going to say, "Are we there yet?"
Almost as if he didn't hear you, Anterius says, I'm not very keen on the idea of locking someone away for the rest of the trip.
Wait. What do you mean locking someone away for the rest of the trip? There are several days left on this path that we're taking.
Almost a month, really.
As soon as Iolanthe hears him say this, she gets a really troubled look on her face and stops smoking her pipe.
Are you really thinking of locking Holli away for an entire month?
What choice do I have?
She has a place on this ship, just like everyone else does. Tess understands active thievery, but what did she tell you in that room about why she did it?
Here, Ian is actually going to pipe up and say, I'm not sure what her reasons were, but And then he's going to kind of look away for a second and say, I haven't done a lot of things you would consider right or good or, and you kind of side glances and says legal, like in a low breath, but you say, but one thing he's never done is steal. Because when you break that kind of trust, you hurt them in a way you can't really understand. And that's not something you can ever easily get back, not even in a month. I'm not sure what could be done for Holly at this point, even to earn her place back on the crew.
Now, counterpoint here. Everybody on this ship has a purpose, has a reason why they're here. They're doing something on the ship to help, correct? Now,
He nods.
Tess grew up in a community of people that all worked together hand in hand to feed each other. But Tess's first time outside of this community, Tess witnessed a mother stealing food from a market in order to feed her child. You would consider this an emotional response to something they feel they need to have to do. Which is why Tess is asking Anterius, what did Holly say? Why did she do what she did? Because deep down, Tess believes that Holly is somebody who is just frustrated or hurt. She needs help. She does not need to be locked away for an entire month. That will not serve to teach anything.
Anterius paces around to the side of the table. And, before Drea, I suppose you have a right to know. What Holly told me is that she's in love with Santigus. And that...
Wait, interrupting this, Tess is gonna yes, like little fist, and she's gonna say, Tess knew it.
And she had a feeling that he would have turned her down for, well, for you, Drea. Drea's eyes widen after she thinks about it for just a moment. She tried to set me up. That's right. She felt like if she could drive a wedge between you and Santigus, she might stand a chance. Kind of a pathetic reason, really. Thievery and all. But that's my perspective. With that said, I imagine we wouldn't have another problem out of Holly henceforth. The poor girl's chances with Santigus are likely not.
This all just sounds like gossip to Tess. Tess thinks Holly needs an actual friend, somebody to help her through these strong feelings that she has.
Rather, Tess, I conclude that she is likely not to steal again, having no reason to do so henceforth. Her true nature laid bare to the one that she loves, the one that she pursued. She likely will not try such a stunt again.
Tess thinks that she just needs therapy.
Anterius, or actually, Drea steps forward and Anterius turns to all of you and says, I disagree. I think that once a person is committed to crime, and especially in a lowered sense of, one's own self-worth and pride, one is more likely to commit atrocities. It's still possible that Holly could commit some hate crime against our friend here.
Worse, we know she did try to attack our friend Iolanthe over here, just assuming her to be an animal. And
Iolanthe, do you have anything to say to that?
Iolanthe was really focused on her pipe until she heard her name and kind of looks up with her pipe still in her mouth, her eyes like, what? And then she pulls it out and lets out her smoke and says, when I was in the room with her, she said, we can't have anyone knowing our little secret, and I'm just a dog.
But did she not express otherwise, Iolanthe, when she fed you beef jerky that night when you were in the room? Just you and her?
Iolanthe thinks about this for a second and kind of begrudgingly nods, and she says, she did give me her jerky.
A question for you, if I may, Anterius says. To you, Iolanthe.
Yes?
When Holli realized your true form was not that of a dog, did her demeanor, her actions change in any way?
Sorry, there's somebody standing outside my window that's open, just like laughing it up, so I don't know if that can be heard or not. Apologies if so.
No, we can't.
Okay. She kind of thinks about this for a second and she says, well, she still attacked me, but she was surprised.
Yeah, that I cannot. Yeah, that does stand.
A rodent stuck in a corner or being cornered by somebody will lash out. It's a natural instinct. Tess believes there is some good within Holli. We just need to foster that good and get her back on track from these lowly, violent responses to hopefully something where she could talk to us, maybe voice her opinion. Feel free to.
Anchor's gonna say, regardless of how we may feel, it's really gonna be pretty irrelevant. Like, news is gonna travel fast on the ship. We are in a small confined space. I'm pretty certain Anterius will tell you this is not something that can just be kept quiet. And
No, but our response is something to be said about the leadership on this exact boat, though, to be honest.
well, the problem
So,
is
at the moment of negativity, do we expect to lock our crew away in their quarters for the entire time? Anybody suffering mental health problems, they need help, they need support, and we need to show that we are willing to offer that.
well, even if we show we're willing to offer it, it doesn't mean the crew will. That's going to be the main problem. Unfortunately,
We already see enough of these issues. We've got Balgrim constantly picking on Adam. We've got thievery here out of strong emotions. There are a lot of things happening.
You
But
notice
our
that
response is going to be the reason why our crew ultimately is going to trust us.
the moment that you mentioned Bogram, Val'faelen starts to sort of stroke his the scales of his chin, and he says, "That does raise a bit of a problem. One of the people who was impacted throughout the course of this endeavor was Bogram, and as we have seen in the past, he is wont to tend toward more aggressive behavior. I would be concerned personally about his own ability to lash out against the lass."
Well, Bagram also definitely needs therapy. In Tess's opinion, there are a lot of people on this ship that need therapy.
Yeah, I didn't outline any kind of a benefits package when I set the original contract up on the market board back in Mechardika, says Anterius.
No ship's counselor? I mean, Tess is not sure if that's a regular practice, but it could be useful.
Anterius looks out of sort of the top of his eyes at you and just kind of shakes his head. He starts to examine the map, and I suppose we could make a pit stop. maybe offload Holly for her own safety against Bagram, and otherwise to get her off the ship. Just cut her loose, pay her for the time she's been here. I'm an honest person anyway.
We picked her up on a completely different continent. What if she has family back there? You can't just leave somebody on an island.
No, not an island. We're still close enough to the coast I could make a quick detour.
Perhaps you and I both should talk to Holly about this, but in separate rooms, if that makes sense.
Did you have another course of action in mind, Tess?
Tess is not certified for it, but she's really good at listening to problems. She could try being ship's counselor.
Anterius starts to walk around the table and stands before you. If I may but assume, are you saying that you'll take responsibility for Holly's actions henceforth?
And Bagram. Tess is going to add on to that. Tess is offering to work personally with Bagram, Holly, and honestly anybody else on the ship that feels they need someone to talk to.
That's not an easy job. You sure you're up for it?
Tess thinks she can handle it.
I second that motion. I've had several talks with Tess, and I can attest to her ability to calm any situation. She has been an invaluable person on our team up to this point, and I believe that it is that glue that has bound this group together. Wouldn't you agree, Ian Fear?
Anterius is going to kind of shrug his shoulders and say, if she wants to take the responsibility.
I'm sure he meant well.
Oh, Tess is a tiefling. People like to toss Tess under the carriage all the time, but Tess is used to it. She's willing to take responsibility.
Well, I think you deserve full credit. Anterius kind of chuckles. All right. If you think you have control of this situation, I'll leave them in your care.
All Tess needs from you, boop, and she's gonna reach forward and boop Anterius's nose and say, is an order from the ship's captain that both Bagram and Holly need to attend weekly counseling sessions with Tess. Tess
Would you like that in...
Tess needs the captain's order.
Would you like it in writing?
Yes, absolutely.
From... he kind of feels around on himself for a moment, almost as if he's looking for his wallet. No, he kind of picks up the map for just a moment and pulls out a sheet of parchment from there. Val'faelen, do you have a writing utensil? Oh, huh, yes, and hands him a quill and a small thing of ink, and he begins writing, and before long turns around and hands you a piece of parchment signed by himself, stating that henceforth both Bagram Zethergill and Holly Yellow Crane
Also, if Tess could make one request, if absolutely possible at all, Tess needs a counseling room so that not just Bagram and Holly, but anyone else on the ship, and she's gonna look at Drea specifically. If they need someone to talk to, they can know that Tess's office is always open.
Yeah, you can use the, now that I'm thinking about this.
I'm
I don't
picturing
believe
Tess
the
with little teeny tiny reading glasses now.
I don't believe the room in the crew quarters just in front of the stairs is in use currently. Might want to go check it out, make sure everything's to your liking in that area, and if you need us to shuffle stuff around.
Tess will go take a look. Which room were you talking about?
The room just in front of the stairs.
Just in front of the stairs.
The
Excuse me,
closed
Bagram.
room.
This one right here?
Yep.
Okay.
As soon as you open the door, a couple of rats scurry into hiding.
After seeing the rats, Tess is just gonna close the door. And then sigh. And she's gonna walk back to the map room. Past Bagram again. And standing in the door frame, looking at Anterius, she's going to say, "It's perfect. Tess is completely happy."
Well, then it's settled. Anterius, Anterius starts to walk down the hall and passes by you, Tess, and says, "Thank you." Oh, actually, and before that, he passes by you, Iolanthe.
Iolanthe straightens up and this whole time that everyone else has been talking, she's been alternating taking little drags of her pipe and kind of fiddling with her little pendant around her neck and focusing on it. But as soon as she sees him approach, she stands up, almost at attention, but not quite.
I have to say, you did great work.
Thanks. I think. And she kind of looks down at her pendant. She has a really, kind of troubled and distracted look on her face.
He sort of chuckles, kind of under his breath, and says, "Lanwillen guides you well, doesn't she?"
As he says this, she looks almost even more distressed and kind of sighs and nods, but doesn't really respond.
Well, at any rate, excellent work. And with that, he turns around, passes by you, Tess, says, "Thank you."
Tess looks forward to setting up her new office.
Of course. And he, still kind of walking, says, "For, making it so that I didn't have to lock anyone away."
Tess does not believe in locking people away. She is here to support your crew.
Nor do I, which is why I did away with the brig in the first place.
Tess is happy to help.
And with that, Anterius continues on down the hallway, closing a nearby door on his way down. "What will you do now, Drea?" Drea just kind of peeks around the room. It's clear that she's just been through somewhat of an experience and doesn't really, still kind of taking her time to process everything. Ian Fear, what are you doing at this point?
Nothing.
Anterius, Anterius, Val'faelen starts to also leave. Or actually, you know what? Val'faelen starts to also approach you, Iolanthe.
And Iolanthe once again kind of perks up. She really likes Val, so she smiles when he comes closer and offers him a drag of her pipe with the good.
He he sort of stands there looking a bit bewildered for just a moment and says, "Okay, but seriously, how did you get on board?"
She shrugs and kind of chuckles and says, "Well, like I said, I never left. You guys, once I was able to get you back to the city, I thought that was it for me, but well." And then she kind of looks down at her pendant and pokes at it, and she says, "Well, let's just say that it turns out I wasn't, but I didn't really know how to come back, so I just stuck around hidden in plain sight." And she kind of shrugs. Sometimes I was a cat, sometimes I was a scruffy dog. Once I was a squirrel, but the wolf chased me, so that was not a very long time.
He sort of chuckles. Calmly, he takes the pipe from your hand and draws it up to his mouth. "Well, you really pulled one over on me, didn't you?" Huh.
She laughs and says, I guess I did. And now I'm here. And
At any rate, I am glad that you're on board.
well, thank you. But again, she kind of frowns a little bit and looks really serious for a second.
He takes another few puffs off the pipe, and smoke comes billowing from both of his nostrils as he passes it back to you. Tess, as you re-enter the map room, that you hear the end of this conversation. But as you continue to glance down the hallway, it seems Bagram has posted up at the end of the in front of the guards.
Without saying a word, Tess is just going to quietly leave the map room and head down the hallway.
Heading down the hallway, it looks like Anterius has just walked by, and Bagram stands angrily in front of the two guards at the room here. "I said let me through." And the guard sort of maneuvers between him and the door, and he says, "And I said no." Bagram starts to smirk at him, balls up his fist, and says, "I was kind of hoping you'd say that."
At this point, Tess is gonna try to walk up and place her hand on Bagram's shoulder and say, now, what is this all about?
"They won't let me into my own room." The sailor looks up at you. "You said you wanted to go in and speak to Holli. Captain's orders are that Holli doesn't see anyone and no one sees Holli."
Now, Tess does understand that you, Bagram, You've slept in this room, correct? Your belongings are in there?
Yeah. Yeah, what she said. My belongings are in there. Now let me through.
Now, let us through. What if Tess volunteers to step inside and make sure that nothing goes down? They will not talk to each other.
Look, I'm sorry, Miss Tess. Captain's orders are no one gets in, no one comes out.
Tess is
Not until I
appointed.
have
Tess is appointed as ship's counselor by Anterius himself. If need be, Tess can go and get Anterius to confirm this.
You have the written orders on you, by the way.
Oh, they had Bogram's name on the letter
Yeah,
as well.
I'm not sure if I got through that whole part, but yeah, it's
Okay.
Bagram and Holli are hereby, put under
Okay.
the authority of Tess, and they're to be released and all of that other stuff.
Tess will flash this paperwork in front of the guards.
Well, I don't know what you said to him, but hey, good on you. And I can't say I envy your new position.
That being
I'm gonna go get
said, if you need anyone to talk to, Tess is here.
Right now, I think what I could use the most is getting something to eat. Good luck. Oh, and here's the key. And he hands you the key to the room. And both of the guards walk off and proceed to the upstairs galley.
Yeah, solid guard dogging, guys.
Now, Tess never said they were relieved of duty. That's interesting.
It says it in the letter. They don't have anybody to guard at this point. And if you recall, Anterius had actually woken them up from the from sleeping in their bunks, so it's likely they weren't on duty in the first place until they were put there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, Bakaram. We're going to make this very quick. We're going to go in and get your belongings, but otherwise you're going to leave Holli alone. Is that understood?
Of course, oh yeah.
Can we in the map room hear any of this?
Insight check on that?
Yes, you absolutely can. Although it is faint, but you've got a bit of heightened sense of hearing anyway. Val'faelen doesn't seem to. Val'faelen doesn't seem to.
Iolanthe's suddenly gonna stand up really straight and be like very hyper focused on the sound of the voices in the hallway, and she starts like kind of baring her teeth a little bit.
Val'faelen yawns widely, takes another drag off the pipe.
So, just as a reminder, Tess has this ring of truth telling, which gives an advantage against insight checks.
I remember. Yep, go ahead and roll out with advantage.
Okay. Ooh wee!
Yeah, he's full of shit as usual. Damn, high rolling tonight.
I know, that's crazy. This is, I don't want to jinx it, but my dice are actually treating me well tonight. Tess is gonna cross her arms and she's gonna kind of tap her foot and say, "Do you want your belongings?"
Of course I do.
Then stop bullshitting Tess. Give Tess all of your weapons right now, and she's gonna hold her hand out.
I don't have any weapons.
Insight check on that.
Go ahead and roll it.
Which again is
He considers himself the weapon.
another ring of truth telling here.
He's telling the truth.
Oh.
Only weapons I got are these guns.
Oh, those dainty little things. Mm. Okay, well, as long as you're not willing to cooperate with Tess, then you're just gonna have to come sleep in my office on the floor with none of your belongings. Food is going to be porridge. Every single morning, afternoon, night, just porridge. No meat, no vegetables.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Um, as you continue to talk, his face slowly distorts into a face of utter fear and discontent. Discontent.
Is that a life that you want for yourself?
If we could just go in there and I'll get my things and I'll just be on my way then.
Do you promise you're not going to start any trouble?
Yes.
Because Tess will punish you. And I'm going to use what is it? Is it thaumaturgy? What is it? Not thaumaturgy, I believe. My voice is going to boom 3 times as loud.
Oh my god.
When Tess says that she will punish him, her voice is going to like 3 times as loud, like demonic booming voice.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's not going to scare the people up on the upper decks.
Suddenly, all of you in the map room hear, Tess will punish you. And it seems as though everyone on that entire level has heard this. You hear the thudding sound as some of the sailors fall from their bunks. One of them actually gets a little bit closer and is staring at you directly from within the hammocks. Maybe scared, maybe intrigued, maybe a little bit of both.
Does Tess notice them?
Scare rouse.
Oh yeah, you absolutely do.
She smiles and waves.
They just wave back. This pirate's like, "Mommy."
Mommy, sorry. Mommy, sorry.
It's not a pirate. It's a sailor. It's not a pirate.
Demon mommy, sorry. So is Bagram shaking in his little boots now.
Go ahead and roll an intimidation check.
Okay.
With advantage because
With
of the
advantage. Okay.
We're gonna have him roll a wisdom check with disadvantage. Bagram takes a step back. Seems to reconsider all of his actions and says, you know, I don't actually need into that room after all. I'm going to go get something to eat. I'm rather hungry," and starts to walk off.
In the meantime, Tess will collect your belongings for you. And then
He says nothing.
and then she's gonna unlock the door. I cannot unlock it from my side. I know oh, there it is. And
Got
she's
it.
gonna step inside. I don't know if there's anything anyone else wants to do.
So y'all have all heard this. Tess will punish you.
Well, when Iolanthe was first hearing the voices in the hallway and realizing that she thinks she knows who was talking to who, she was kind of on the high alert and getting ready to switch to a new form. Like her pendant and eye were both starting to glow, but then she heard that and she just stopped and she was like, nah, never mind. And just like leaned back.
You see Val'faelen kind of like peeking around the corner, kind of eavesdropping, and Ian Fear's not even trying to hide the fact he's like standing in the hallway gawking.
Ian Fear's just looking for someone to set on fire.
Any actions from the two of you?
Nah,
Rhea starts to kind
Oh.
of rifle past you.
Nope. now Iolanthe heard that Tess seems to have the situation under control and just kind of settled back into the corner to keep smoking.
You walk into the room, Tess, and Holli is still laid out on the bed.
Tess is going to lock the door behind her so that no one else can walk in.
Done.
And then look on either which side of the room and almost in an embarrassed tone says to Holli, "Do you happen to know which of these beds is Bogram's? Or is it just the stinkiest bed?"
You can probably tell by the smell. It's that one over there. She points at the last bed in the row that she's sleeping on, so it's the one just to the south of you on the map. Yeah, that one.
Tess thanks you so much. And she's going to start collecting Bogram's things. Tess thinks it would be more beneficial if Bogram is relocated to a different room in the time being. Does that suit you?
She kind of looks a little surprised and sits up in the bed and goes, sure.
Why look so surprised? Do you know Bogram very well?
Not really.
You seem a little surprised for somebody who doesn't know Bogram very well.
You mean y'all aren't gonna make me, walk the plank?
Oh, absolutely not. That is such a barbaric practice. Tess has only ever heard of evil criminal pirates doing that thing. Have
You're
you
not
ever
gonna-
seen someone walk the plank?
You're not gonna lock me in the brig?
Oh no, absolutely not. You are a human being, or not a human being, whatever your race is.
Halfling.
Oh, Tess has not seen very many halflings. Tess apologizes. You have feelings. You are a living creature. To be living inside of a brig throughout your entire trip, it's not a very good place for you to mature and better yourself.
So, if you're not gonna make me walk the plank and you're not gonna have me in the brig, you're gonna incinerate me somehow?
Nope. Tess is just going to force you to talk about your feelings to Tess. Which,
Her eyes widen and her face distorts into a...
which some may want to actually walk the plank or live in a brig, as opposed to talking about their feelings. But Tess hopes that you are mature enough to be able to help get your thoughts together and organize, and maybe figure out why all of this happened.
And you're not gonna, like, freeze me or...
No? Tess is just going to torture you by making you talk about your feelings and unpack trauma.
I think I can handle that.
Tess is glad to hear it.
And, what about my next, shift?
Who is your direct, supervisor? Is it Val or Anterius specifically?
Suppose either of them.
Tess will talk to them about getting your shift covered. No need to worry. Tess just wants you to rest, stay hydrated, eat your food, and prepare for the upcoming, very intense emotional sessions, probably. Some people unpack trauma better than others. Tess is not sure about you, though.
Did Holly hear the whole Tess will punish you thing.
Probably.
And if you're not ready to unpack your emotions the next time Tess sees you, Tess may forego punishment for understanding. Either way, we will get you back on track.
She kind of sinks back down into her bed and pulls the covers up to her face again.
In the meantime, Tess has one favor. She is going to pull out a sheet of parchment. Is there a pen already present on this desk? Or no?
Not on that desk, no.
Okay, so she's going to pull out some parchment and then leave behind one of her little pens.
Okay.
And she's going to say, in the meantime, Tess wants you to focus on writing down exactly why you did what you did. Take some time, do some soul searching, but more importantly, this is about healing. Just break down your behavior and help Tess understand exactly why you did what you did. This is going to help you in the long run, so please, take it seriously.
And you want me to do what? Give this to you when I'm done?
Yes? Seal it up, put a little kiss on it, make it special for Tess. Tess will see you in the next 48 hours to collect this piece of paper. Otherwise, we'll make sure that you are fed and you're hydrated and have plenty of busy work to do.
Okay.
Have a good day. And Tess is going to take Bogram's stuff and unlock the door to head outside.
You unlock the door. The moment you come outside, you notice that the cat is lined up in front of your new office, and it's got its like arm underneath the door, and you hear the thump, 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 thump.
Looking at the cat, Tess is still going to turn around and lock the door behind her.
You're locking Holli in?
Anterius did say she was confined to quarters, and Tess said that she would see her within the next 48 hours, but she would make sure that she is fed and hydrated. So if she's got room service, she'll be good.
Your parchment freed her of the confinement and allowed her to return to duty.
Okay. Okay.
Do you still want to lock the door?
No.
Okay.
Now, as a testament to trust, Tess is going to leave the room unlocked.
Yeah, she's like that parchment basically put Holli in your custody.
Okay.
So you're responsible for her actions forthwith.
Okay. That makes sense. Anyone else want to do anything? We're getting kind of close to ending.
No. Val'faelen walks down the hallway and by you and proceeds to go above deck out into the snow.
As the map room starts to clear out, Iolanthe kind of slowly walks over towards the map and looks at the location of the pin where the boat is indicated to be, and is kind of like fidgeting with her pendant, really a really agitated manner. And she just kind of looks down at it and she's like, "Where are you?"
As always, there's no response.
She sighs and tucks it back into her shirt and leaves the room.
As you start to leave the room, I would like all three of you to go ahead and roll a wisdom check.
Ouch.
My dice betrayed me at the end. How dare you?
Iolanthe, you are compelled to proceed upstairs after Val'faelen.
Okay. Is this like just kind of a fleeting thought sort of thing?
It's often that you receive these instinctual kind of notifications, if you will. You've
Ah,
always thought less of them being about something that comes from within and something more that is communicated to you by Landwillen herself.
well, Iolanthe feels this and gets really excited and starts like practically booking it towards the stairs.
Okay. As you cross up the stairs, your eyes immediately lock on Val'faelen, who is has his hand draped over his eyes, and he's staring out to sea.
She comes like skidding up to him and she's about to say something, but she has no idea actually why she's here, so she just kind of makes this like little hi,
No,
like
noticing
awkward.
you, he, without saying a word, raises his hand slowly and points off in the distance.
All right, Iolanthe stops and follows the direction of where he's pointing with her eyes.
Go ahead and roll a perception check for me. Iolanthe, just as you're looking up, and after this occurs, you're almost riddled by this idea that maybe you imagined this happening and you kind of don't trust your own vision. But as Val'faelen points up, there is what looks like the aft section of a very large ship moving just into the fog, just outside of your line of sight. Did I see that?
Iolanthe looks up at Val and nods.
He starts to pace away from Poe, who, as you're walking, says, I didn't see anything. What do you, he says, do you understand the importance of this? I don't know about your history at sea.
Iolanthe looks kind of distressed and she just nods again.
Still, if I may, I'd like to go over it in my own mind. And he pulls out a small map.
A rubber duck.
Typically, ships take routes that are along the coastline. These are considered to be safe because should a ship be involved in a wreck of some kind, it's easier to get help this way. It's also safer against the icebergs, but since this mission, we've needed more discretion. We've chosen a route that is different than the typical trade route so as not to be seen. Whatever this ship is that I continue to see on the horizon, this is likely not a ship that is sanctioned by our government, or by the government of Godbury, as it were.
Yolanthe's eyes narrow and she says, "How many times have you seen it?"
This would be twice. Still, it seems I have only barely caught it, which tells me that they might be evading us.
Have you told anyone else?
You're the first. I did mention it before, but I wasn't convinced until now that what I was seeing was real.
Yolanthe's kind of like peeking around the, I guess the mast. Is that what they're next to?
Yes, yeah, that's the mast.
Okay, she's peeking around and like scanning to see if she can see anything else on the horizon or out in the waters.
Try as you might, you're not able to see anything at this point. That ship disappeared right into the horizon. You only barely got a look at the very rear of the ship.
She kind of shivers, and then as she does so, she realizes that it's really cold out here and she doesn't have fur anymore, so she's shivering even more and like pulling her cloak kind of around herself and says, "Well, I don't know what to tell you, but it's definitely something worth keeping an eye out for."
I'll report to the captain then. Would you let the others know?
Yolanthe nods.
That's about all the time we've got for today. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the episode, and we all hope to see you next time in our next episode of New Dalancia, our Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaign. Until next time, I am VGpunx, your most gracious DM, and I am signing off. Keep a song in your heart.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.